I don't know if that means. Okay, we're
We're
live.
live.
There we go. Okay.
All right, welcome everybody. This is group one. Myself, Mike, and Addison will be presenting our information. Our other team members are Alex and Tyler. They're unfortunately not here with us, but that's okay. We're going to talk about remote access VPN, and then we're going to talk about multi-factor authentication.
Yep. All right, here we go.
All right. What is remote access? It's important for people to know what a remote access is. It says here, in computer networking, remote access technology allows a user to log into a system and an authorized user without being physically present at its keyboard. Remote access is commonly used on corporate computers, networks, but also can be used on home networks. So this allows you, if you had a job or something, it allows you to access your computer from work at home through a remote connection.
Yep.
All right, there's a couple different ways you can do this. Microsoft has a nice, beautiful outline, step-by-step, for different kind of systems and stuff. Here's a couple slides that we found, just some brief information of how to access. This one talks about to allow the remote connection to your computer, you want to go through these different kind of steps. You first have to work on your computer, and then you have to work on the other computer that you're going to be connecting to. In the next slide, it goes over some more. It's like I said here, you have to look up your computer's name that you're going to be connecting to, get some of that information so it knows where to go. And you also have to be able to connect through the firewall. The firewall will prevent you from getting through there unless you have some of the information that they're looking for.
Yeah. Little
Next
involved.
slide. What's that?
A little involved, but it's they give a good step-by-step.
And very important, you need to have the password for the user account. If not, many people will be connecting to computers left and right. You have to get the ID number of the computer, and once that connects through there, you have to get their password that they have given you. As it says right here, step by step, what you can do. Down at the bottom is just the link we put down there. I know you guys can't click on it, but if you look at it and you want to, you can either Google it online and just look at it. If you have a Microsoft system, to be able to do a step-by-step if you had the need. Most likely, if you had a job or business and they had that, they'd already have that set up for you and they could help you do that. But that's just basically what a remote access is for people to do that.
Cool.
Now we're going to just talk real quick a little bit about remote access VPN. Is it the same as remote desktop? Since this topic, we're talking about remote access VPN. And actually, a VPN is a totally different thing than remote access. Like it says here, with something like Chrome Remote Desktop, a VPN is something that allows certain computer spreads across a large network, like we're talking about, like the internet, to connect with a private network, the VPN or virtual private network. This VPN gives protection and security to the connection between the machine, so that using something like Google Apps in order to remotely connect to your PC will be much more secure. This is a way that separates your connection to the network is not the same thing as connecting to a VPN. A VPN is another thing that we're actually going to talk about. Some of you might know, as we went over that in the last presentation, they talked a little bit about VPN, but I'll talk a little more about VPNs.
Yeah.
What is a VPN? Two different kinds of VPNs: the remote access VPN and a site-to-site VPN. Right here, it talks about remote access VPN allows a user to connect to a private network, as we said many times, through a resource remotely. The remote access VPN is useful for businesses, users, as well as home users. This allows basically an extra step of security, as we will discuss more, for especially for businesses. This is a really important thing for business. Now, private people, they can do that too. It's actually suggested that anybody who uses a computer that's on the internet a lot and different kind of things to use a VPN for personal safety. If you want to do a remote access to something else, it's encouraged to do also a remote access VPN to, like we said, another layer of security. Now, a site-to-site VPN, a little bit different, but it's also called a VPN, but it's a router-to-router VPN, and mostly used in corporate businesses, companies with offices in different geographical areas. So some people have businesses, here in the United States, and other people have with South America or London, stuff like that. This one is geared more toward those specific companies and corporations. It allows a different kind of structure for their type of VPN and for their business.
Yeah.
And here is a couple of VPN protocols that we just wanted to point out. There's an internet protocol, the IPsec. There's a layer 2 tunneling protocol, a point-to-point, a secure socket layer, an open VPN, and a secure shell. These are different kind of protocols VPNs use in different ways of protecting and different routes and different ways they do that. How they set the VPN up.
And I recognize some of these from the book. Like it looks like I've read about some of these already.
So actually, yeah, a lot of these do pop up, especially the tunneling protocol and the point-to-point. We covered that in I think it was maybe a chapter ago or 2 chapters ago. It talked about those. A lot of this, like we said, is really important, especially when you get out there in the business world. A lot of your corporations or businesses you'll be working with, I would doubt that they wouldn't have a VPN, but most likely they do. So these are things that you'll be familiar with when you go out there and you see those.
Yeah.
Here's a couple of just the free VPNs. Most VPNs cost money. There are free ones. Personally, if somebody wanted to do a VPN for their own, if they wanted to do a remote connection with a family member, maybe they help them out, do something, I don't know. You can secure your VPN. Here's just a couple that we found on the internet. They were free. Some of them have a monthly expense, monthly cost of like $12 to $20. They range for different prices depending on the brand of them. Some of them are higher line, some of them are lower line. So these are just a couple to help you out in case you're interested in adding a VPN on your computer or even your cell phone. They have a lot of those that people can use.
Yeah.
And just another review of VPN and remote access, just kind of what they are again. As you see right there, one thing that we'll point out again, just because you have remote access doesn't mean your thing is secure. That's why the VPN is thrown in there.
Yeah.
You can connect between you and it's kind of like thinking you're searching the internet and you don't know what site you're going to. You may be connecting to a server or a computer that you believe is safely worthy, but you don't know if they one day had a virus on there. Now that you're connecting to their network, there's a possibility that you might get something that they had on their computer directly toward you. So that's why, once again, VPN, very important if you're going to do a remote access to any type of network or computer.
Yeah, perfect.
Here's just a little picture just to show you, down here, you got the person, the client, right in the middle is a secure VPN. Basically, instead of going straight to the company or the business or the whatever you're going to, it takes you somewhere different. And that right there is the virtual network where you connect into, and from there it goes to the other end. So it's actually a second step. Instead of just a one step, you go straight to them, or I would say a third step. You go from you to the VPN, to the network that you're trying to get to, and then back. So they kind of do a filtering buffer to more protect you. So here's a little image just so you can visualize the remote access, and also on top of that, the remote access with a VPN.
Like it. Okay. We got the multi-factor authentication. So this is typically you've got those services like Google's Authenticator. There's a lot more than that, though, of course. As far as getting multi-factor authentication, you get it from a lot of different types of services. But as far as I know, Mike, this is basically saying that you can set up an extra layer of authentication for your VPN connection. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, that just gives you a little extra security. Nothing wrong with more authentication, making sure that you are who you claim to be. So.
Yeah, because you just don't want anybody having access to your VPN, even though it's great that you have a VPN. Like I like to imagine that like a lock on your front door or your bicycle. It's great, but if everybody knows your combination, then what's the purpose of a VPN, or what's the purpose of a lock? So
Yep.
having these multi-factor authentications help make it even harder for them to, for somebody to get into your system
Yeah, that's a
or
great
network.
point. If you've got the most secure connection of ever, but it's super easy to get access to that. Well, what I mean is if your connection has got all kinds of encryption, but if it's easy to, gain access to that connection, it's kind of pointless. But yeah, anyway. So this is basically just giving you a brief overview of how that multi-factor authentication would work. Basically, you would just sign in from your device, your computer, or whatever, using your typical credentials. After that, you've got basically using the application through your device. You have a authentication that's coming at you from whoever's offering that service, but that then is going to authenticate to you.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to gain basically a connection through that. What is that cloud? Is that the VPN or is that?
Well, that's just the cloud app. So whatever kind of app cloud service they use.
Okay.
It's like I'm trying to think of. I had to renew my password for something, and they wanted me to. I couldn't remember what my password was. So what they did is whatever I had in file, I can't remember if it's my email or cell phone. No, it was my cell phone. They had my cell phone, so I had an option to refresh my password. So they told me they would send me a one-time authentication, which they gave me like a 4-digit number that I had to got on my cell phone. I looked at it, and then I had to enter it in one time to authenticate who I was. So that's just an extra step into changing just that password. And so that's pretty neat. And that's just kind of like you said, you have to log in there, and they make you step by steps. Permission. You have to be certain places, do certain things, do certain steps in order for you to move on to the next step.
Pretty much anytime. So kind of like how anytime I use another device to connect to my email, Google likes to send me a text message and have me verify that it's actually me.
Yes, perfect example. Yeah, they want to make sure that you're. Yeah, but it's secure. So now they know that it recognizes the device that you're using. Because a lot of people want to jump on your account. A lot of people will try to hack in, and so that's great. That's a perfect example of another way that they can authenticate.
That's good. Okay. All right. So basically, this is just giving you a quick overview of how you could include that authentication, that extra authentication into a VPN. And kind of like how we mentioned earlier, you can get an extra multi-factor authenticator through a third-party provider. They've got some reliable providers here like Azure, Citrix, SensorNet, MFA, OneLogin. You can just kind of check around and find good ones out there. There's then basically at least going to be these 3 basic steps. You create an account, types of multi-factor authentication challenges for validation. You would then create or install the multi-factor authentication server to receive those requests, and then configure basically a remote desktop gateway server as a radius server. I don't really know what that means, but there you go. So
yeah, I'm clueless about that either. But long story short, you want a remote access, you want a VPN, you want multi steps of authentication. Like you said, like you have to get third party. This is third party apps. You have to pay for the service. You're gonna have to pay for the VPN. You're gonna hopefully have a server to connect to, and through the VPN and through these other third parties where you can actually do those extra steps to make sure that your network is secure between the remote access. That's what you're gonna have to do, and that's if you're willing to pay for that, then it's there for you.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, it's not letting me. Is that the end?
That's it. Yeah,
Okay.
we covered all the steps we need to. We appreciate you people listening to us gabber on for forever.
Yep. All right. Thanks, guys. and we will go ahead and sign off.